The music industry is an evil bag of snakes. It's festering with lots of leprosy, and that's the good day.
They did it the same way for years and years, but that started to change. And as it changed, you had many executives that felt threatened and hoped and prayed the old days would come back. They're not coming back.
You know, look at music. And music used to be something that was started in only sacred spaces.
Waiting for the doors to bust open.
You know how hard it is to stand on that stage? We all take it for granted that everyone can do it. We can't. It takes a certain kind of person to even get up there at all, to even stand there at all, even for two people. That's huge, and don't think everyone is capable of that. Most of the people in the world are not capable physically and mentally of getting on that stage. They'll throw up first.
There's just a feeling of like elation for me when I play, and it lasts the whole, like, all day tomorrow. Like, you know, I mean, just because we put so much work into it, you know.
Cool, basic clarinet.
Being great isn't good enough. Being really good isn't good enough. You got to be fucking amazing. You got to blow people away.
You can't stop something that's great. You really can't hold it down.
It just feels really great. So it's, I guess, sort of like a drug addiction of sorts. Like, I don't know why I looked at you for that. Sorry, bro.
People who are artists were meant to be artists. They can't stop it. They can't help it. They're comfortable on that stage. That stage is like a couch for me. I love being on that stage because it feels like I've got a blanket around me.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This is insane.
Now it's a constant wallpaper in our lives, you know. And so it's diluted. It's become this sort of nice shade of pink instead of the hot blood red drops that it used to be at one time.
That feeling is just amazing. It's addicting. I mean, especially when you have just people that's all about your music and you're just kicking ass on stage and being a fan.
We're going to do things however the hell we want to do it. And if we happen to get famous, that's cool. But we want to do so on our own terms, and we're not going to settle for anything short of that.
When the Beatles did it, and Bob Marley did it, and the Stones did it, They did it because they had to. It was their life. It was what they breathed. They ate and they breathed music. They didn't form a band to make money. They formed a band because they had to.
I mean, you can play in front of 500 people, and if they don't like your music and they're just looking at you, it sucks. Or you can play in front of 40 people, and they just love every second. They're just going ape shit to you. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's all about just the crowd and your connection and just how you feel it.
I can remember being 3 or 4 years old and playing records through with a speaker outside my window to the kids in the neighborhood who would sit around on chairs, and I'd introduce new music like a radio station. And then I taught myself to play guitar, I think, when I was before 10, and always had bands way before they were fashionable. Drove my parents crazy with band practice in the living room. But there was never a question in my mind what I wanted to do.
We were young, and I was playing out a lot, 3 times a week in Hollywood, living my life to be a musician.
Being as big as Metallica, that was my goal when I first started playing. I wanted to be as big as Metallica and play as fast as Slayer. That was my goal.
In those days, there wasn't that kind of money. You know, when the Beatles and the Stones started, there was no money going around. It was just like the president of EMI Records at the time was George Martin, who produced the Beatles, and he said he used to ride a bicycle to work as president of A&R for EMI because there was no money.
Most of the people that I've run into in the business that are actually very good are usually a little larger than life, and some of the things that make them so successful make them a little difficult to deal with as people outside of the studio or inside the studio sometimes. That's sometimes the magic that makes it work.
And I would work with some bands that would just come into the studio and start acting like rock stars. That's really what they thought they were supposed to do. That was their job. They'd do all the drugs, they'd get all the women to come in, and it wasn't about the work, it was about acting like a rock star. And unfortunately, I think culture kind of reinforces that now. Do this and become a rock star, it's a video game.
Nowadays, kids coming up and see how much money the Stones have and see how much money the Beatles have and people like that. And so they get into it thinking about the money.
If I could make a living just playing music and recording albums and playing shows and paying my bills or pay my mortgage or whatever, just playing music, to me that's success. The moment I can do that and go to work and tell my boss, yes, you're not going to be seeing me anytime soon late.
And that's a very attractive thing. I mean, to just I'm going to get paid to hang out with the greatest people on the planet, make music, and at night, a room full of people are going to yell at me and tell me how awesome I am. Yeah, of course we wanted to do that. That sounds wonderful.
A lot of people have jobs they don't want and hate and aren't them, and I can't think of anything more successful than to have one that you love with every pore of your being.
I've been backstage with Larry Carlton, who's a jazz guitar player. And we've been back behind the curtains before they're going to announce us. And he'd come over to me and he'd go, "Hey, Craig," he says, "Man, we're lucky, man. We get to go out there and play what we want to play for an hour and a half, and all these people are going to dig this, And so that's what I mean. To be almost 60 years old and still making a living at it, which has been really hard.
When I can hear myself and I can hear the whole band, I just am thinking this is exactly how I want to live. This is exactly what I want to do, and I don't worry about anything. And it's a very short amount of time that I don't worry.
play my own music that I really love to people who really enjoy it, and make enough to pay the rent and just sort of carry on doing what I'm doing. Like I'm not out there to be like insanely super rich or super successful, have a private jet or headline festivals. I just want to reach an amount of people that can sustain me financially comfortably, and like that I can go out there and like connect with.
Absolutely. It's a completely unrealistic dream, but only unrealistic dreams are the ones worth going after. I mean, yeah, it's a 1,000,000 to 1 shot.
I have an immense amount of pleasure that happens when I'm playing, because I know that she and I have done this and that we've made it, and it's exactly the truth, and there is no like act going on or any whatever, and it's an amazing thing to share with somebody that you've created with for so long. Also being in the middle of the music and having it all come up live and it's going on and it's about to be gone and then it's done is this amazing, like, I want to make this the best moment I can.
There's no shortcut, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You work hard, you find right people you connect with, and you try, and you go for it. And if it fucking doesn't work, then you figure why, and you go again, you try again, and try again. How many demos have been made, how many bands that were the biggest thing in the world were rejected by every fucking label? I mean, what?
The bottom line is, people who don't take the risk usually don't make it. You have to be willing to bare your soul again, like we said, and really try things.
You start small and you try and play bigger and bigger shows, and then you try and get labels to look at you, and you want to get on the radio and all these different things.
That's why everyone moves to LA, because you can. You can really make it here. I mean, because this is where the industry is.
If I was in Lexington, Kentucky, and I had 1,200 people coming out to every show out there, and I was more or less just like a local favorite, that's enough for a record label to get behind. They feel like they can do something with that.
It's probably helpful to be available to the industry, which is basically still here in New York and in Nashville and London.
And if you're a great band based in Portland, why wouldn't you want to come down to Los Angeles? But it's not like that's where you're gonna get discovered because you're playing the Whiskey or the Viper Room.
But if I'm in the greatest band in the world and I'm one of 500 bands who played tonight in Los Angeles and I had 48 people come to my show, forget it.
And it's also, you can get lost here. And you can, I mean, you have to really be a star to break through all the bullshit,
You got to get their attention. And it used to be, we're playing in a club, come and see me. Or you have a lawyer call an A&R guy and they come and see you. And that was that for a long time, and it worked, and bands got signed. The A&R guy went to Seattle, signed everybody. I mean, clearly, we watched it happen, but now it's changed. You have to prove yourself.
Major labels are going to want to see a band that's has already achieved a good amount of the work, I think. They've established a fan base, they know where their audience is. Band's together, it's a machine, it's up and running.
If I have to think about it, I pass. Okay, if I have to think now, gosh, should I sign these guys or not? Forget it. Okay, I have to be knocked on my butt.
It's not hard. It's just, I mean, you think, how am I going to afford to go in a van and take my band all the way up the coast of the West Coast? Well, because you pick up the phone, you call all the clubs, you book yourself all the way along, and you get in a van.
You can buy your own T-shirts, and you can purchase your own CDs and pay for your own gas and food, and then tour.
Yeah, if you're like an enterprising business person, you stand to make more money that way in the beginning.
You're making this hard, but I played my
country. As long as you leave LA, you can actually get paid to play your music as long as you go and contact these club owners, put yourself out there, and sell your CD.
Mike has some road rage. Road rage? It's just ridiculous. Gets out of his car to talk to his friends.
Mike's a very kind person, but he rages.
I don't rage. There's proper etiquette.
We stumbled upon a vintage car show here in Scottsdale.
If only he knew how to cry. The tip of her hat, he salutes the solution. But vanity's no alibi. And you're making this hard. Don't make this so hard. All my life I wanted someone like you. Tonight I thought it.
Just got released from jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas.
In Texas.
Suspended good.
5.5 hours. 5 hours.
No singing in jail in Texas.
In Texas. Yeah.
I think no singing in West Texas at all. This is not going well.
Well, first time I've ever not had to load my own gear, which is weird.
Someone I could see right
You can do all that, and because you've done that, when you get here, you can go to the record companies and say, look what we've done. We've sold this many albums on our trip.
We played here for 5 years, and at the end of the day, we've got, you know, a few hundred people that know, maybe more than that know who we are, but regular people that show up to shows and those kinds of things. It was a pretty small number. It was enough to book the venues and play where we wanted to play, and you know, and to keep going. But if you take a band like ours and you put them in, you know, Boulder, Colorado, or Fort Collins, or you know, some other town that doesn't have quite this overexposure, it's much easier to generate that beginning thing that you need.
That's something that I have just been like overwhelmed when I see the amount of work that you have to put into that, you know, and then I imagine doing that and working on music, and I'm just like,
It's a whole other like area of your brain that you have to like.
So we just sold out.
Yeah.
One of the first things that any label today will ask you is, can you sell? Can you fill, you know, a club? Can you do these sorts of things? And it's really hard to get to that point where a label will actually talk to you if you're starting in Los Angeles.
I remember when I moved out here in the early 80s, mid 80s, there were hundreds and hundreds of bands plastering telephone poles with their flyers, and it was pay to play, and they would, Sunset Strip was clubs all up and down. There were people lined on the street to play these gigs.
All the old guys who looked like my dad owned all the clubs still, you know what I mean? The Club Lingerie, even the Roxy and the Whiskey were still owned by old guys that looked like my dad, you know? And nobody asked you for anything other than bring a crowd and be really good.
And the labels would look and see which band had the largest draw at Gazzari's or the Roxy, and then they would show up for a showcase, and these bands would book a showcase and invite the label people to come see them. And that was how the labels discovered a certain amount of talent was in the core of this sort of, you know, live performance situation.
Bruce Springsteen was one of the biggest people who played here. Bob Marley played here. You know, Dolly Parton, Sex Pistols. Dead Weather, Billy Idol has been on our stage. Cheech and Chong, that's really fun. That's some old school Roxy stuff. I mean, we've had Gnarls Barkley here. We've had really, really big bands.
I'd see Axl and Slash, and we were all doing the same dumb thing, hanging out in the clubs at night, hearing other bands, being there, half the people in the clubs were all of us.
30 years ago, they would scour the country looking for talent. But LA became like the center of that for a while. And so every band was told they needed to move here to make it.
There's a scene in every city, you know, there's a music scene in Phoenix, there's a music scene in Detroit, there's a music scene in Seattle, Sacramento, everywhere, you know, I mean, there is. Is everyone looking? But eventually, those bands that are making those scenes are gonna come fucking play LA.
I think actually I was a little surprised at the amount of cool people and great musicians and just like genuine artists and musicians that I've met here. There's more than I'd have expected.
Every band that I've developed, we've ended up signing in LA, coming to LA, doing the shows in LA.
But like none of them are from here. Like you hardly ever meet people who are born and bred in LA.
There's just a lot going on here. There's, you know, this is the entertainment capital of the world, or so I'm told. So there are a bajillion bands. There are so many bands, and there's actors everywhere, and that's one of the things that's maybe the most unique about LA versus some of the other even major cities, is that you've got this massive Hollywood persuasion that exists. So even just in a city like Chicago or something like that, where there is a large music scene like there is in LA, it doesn't have this crossover problem with film and television and commercials and people trying to work. So, I mean, when you're playing in any sort of like what would be deemed hip club, it's full of people that are running into other folks that maybe can get something done for them.
The level of musicianship out here, the musicians are so amazing. They're just like so technically like on it, because, you know, I guess in America this is like kind of the place to be if you want to be like a session musician.
There were always a lot of studios in LA. So you had a core group of session musicians and producers, and a lot of people lived out here because of the climate, and the real estate market was less expensive, still expensive compared to other parts of the country. But you had a situation where you sort of needed to come here 25 years ago to make a record because that's where it was done.
But it kind of feels like it's a place for musicians who have already made it. That's how I kind of feel like. It's like they make it and then they move to LA. And then there's these insanely nice studios and great session bands. You can do whatever you want. And like,
just in general, there seems to be this lack of attention that happens in the venues here. And I'm sure that stops at some point, like when you're playing the El Rey to 1,500 people, they're all there to see you.
There's not really one area where people will always go and there's always a good show on. I mean, there's kind of the Silver Lake thing going on, but it's like, not really. It's not the same feeling as in New York or in London where you feel like, oh, I'm part of something big here.
In the 90s, right, probably 92, I feel like it was, where the Roxy and the Whiskey and the Troubadour changed their policy. And I think it really, it didn't make sense to me, and it changed they just changed their format of why they did anything.
And I think there's been times, especially on the Sunset Strip, where it was just, yeah, it was pay to play. It was clock in, pay me $500 and I'll give you a spot on stage. But
and there are, you know, venues that are notably fun to play at and good people to work with. And there are others that are more difficult, but you do it because it has a name, or or you do it because you're brand new and you don't have a choice.
They gave us a set amount of tickets, and we had to put down a down deposit. And then when we sold tickets, we had to give them a certain dollar amount of each ticket, and then we got to keep the rest.
You can play any day of the week. Just go give them some money. It's $500 now, I think. I think that's what the going set is.
Any band that is in a position where they still have to sell pre-sale, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to get rid of all their tickets, so it ends up being a pay-to-play gig.
I remember every show that we played at the Whiskey and the Roxy and stuff, we would just call and text and everything, all of our friends, MySpace, I don't think we had Facebook.
And we were a terrible band.
This is the owner of Club Lingerie. There was a club on Sunset called Club Lingerie. Might have been because he knew my dad, because my dad was in the business that he was in. I mean, my dad opened this club, but my dad was a musician, so he didn't really run this club. He had a partner who passed away 20 years ago, and that's when I took over. But he knew him, and he might have maybe got behind me because of that a little bit, but we also brought a ton of people, and we were really different and really good and really meant what we were doing on that stage. We weren't screwing around. We were trying really hard to be good. And I felt that from him. And he always handed me money at the end of the night, but we brought people in. And when that club went away, that's when the real change happened. It was like he was one of the last, and once he was gone, it allowed the Strip to change fully, because he was the one holding out. He never did the pay-for-play.
Nowadays, if you want to play usually with any kind of a big band, or a band that has a following or that'll draw easily 100 to 500 people on their own, most every venue is going to say, okay, we want you to sell between 20 and 50 tickets beforehand. And the idea is, well, if we're going to put you on this bill with this big band, what's the harm in you promoting it a little bit and selling tickets on your own?
And at first it was only $250, which was like, okay, you give us $250 and you get to play. And if you do well, maybe we'll stop charging you. So we were all like, okay, this is different. I played already a bunch of times, and now they're saying I have to give them $250 to play there, and they want me to sell the tickets. So they're trying to take the responsibility of their business that they chose to be in and put it on the artist.
But I mean, for a band like that, where it's like, you're obviously taking time off work, you're taking time away from your family or your girlfriend or whatever, and now you're in another state, and every last cent, when you're on a tour like that, every last cent counts. It can be the difference between you eating dinner or not eating dinner, or making it to the next town or not making it to the next town. And you feel bad for these guys too, because you see them like standing out in front of the venue, like, hey man, we're on tour from Oregon, and we really need to get these tickets sold. You need a ticket? We'll do them for half price, just something.
There are other venues on the Strip who still do that. I've done it here and there, but I personally don't believe in that. I understand it's a survival mechanism, but I personally, as an artist, don't believe in that system as a good way to book.
They no longer support bands. You have to either be a famous band already, where you won't play there unless they pay you, because they know they'll be sold out, or all the other nights of the week, where they have 5 bands a night. I mean, if you multiply that 500 times 5 every night.
And that's why you'll go to some of these shows and you'll see like a heavy metal band followed by a synth pop act, followed by a folk singer.
Usually the promoter will require that one member of the band leave their, obviously their phone number, but then their address and a business phone number and all this stuff, just so that if it comes right down to it, they can still track you down or send you to collections. Or
you also have to hang out there until it's your time to go up. And if you have to be subjected to music that you don't find inspiring at all,
you got to do what you got to do to survive. And during really tough months of this recession, we had to get creative. But for the most part, I feel like if you're going to play the Roxy, you've proven yourself in this market and you deserve to be there.
As far as my experience went, the lower a person was in the totem pole, the more of a chance there was that they were going to bold-face lie to you.
The music industry is an evil bag of snakes, that's festering with lots of leprosy, and that's the good day.
And there's this feeling like you're swimming with sharks.
Zach encountered the same thing, got the same email that we did, like, your music is incredible. We're gonna get it on all these shows. We're gonna help you out, make you a lot of money. Just $400 to sign up.
Because there's a lot of these people that go, oh, you got some money? Great, I can help you.
Because this is an industry town, there are people whose jobs are based on selecting artists and making money off of them, you know, and sort of the music is a secondary part of it.
And I never go over the points of a record deal with an artist the first round, because they will think that the entire world is evil, okay? They will be so bitter against the record company.
But yeah, this town is full of a lot of people that either like they used to be something and now they can't stand that they're not, or they're trying to be something and they aren't and don't have the credentials and are lying about that.
It seemed like everybody that was sort of in the industry but not on top of the industry was pretty truthful. But a lot of the folks that were doing some of the uglier labor, they'll, you know, it's cutthroat down there. Everyone's trying to get somewhere else.
Like, oh yeah, well, like we want to get on tour. Like, oh, you can get on tour by the end of the summer. We can.
When you're us, like this is what we work for, so we have to kind of see every opportunity through and see what things are about, and it's a lot of digging through. And when you find out that people just bold-faced lie to you, I think it's always shocking that anybody would do that, you know?
Even if I'm in the middle of a bidding war, I will never exaggerate the terms of one deal to the other company and make stuff up. I will never do that, you know, ever. And look, I have some of my best friends do that are lawyers.
And so a lot of the newbies, people that are starting out, booking agents, these small record labels, pay-to-play venues, things like that, they'll lie. They'll tell you anything that you need to hear so that they can get, you know, rights to a song out of you or money. I mean, some of these people are just in your face actually asking you, like, yeah, give us $400 and we'll get you on the radio. And that's a lie. That is a lie. Absolutely.
And then the guy that was helping us, that was like encouraging us to kind of sign a contract with them, pay $400 up front, and then like, but we'd get the money back probably through licensing and stuff like that. He mysteriously disappeared.
I mean, we lied too. We would, sure, we'd fake our way through some things. I mean, we were always very careful about how we did those kinds of things because we weren't into pulling the proverbial sheet over anybody's eyes, but...
You know, I might not be the richest entertainment lawyer in the United States, but I definitely am one of the most ethicals, and you know what? I could sleep at night.
But, you know, sometimes you just kind of let people think one thing and you know that that's probably not totally accurate. Like, yeah, I absolutely will have 200 people show up at this venue. That's definitely going to happen. Never would have said that if it wasn't possible, but was it unlikely? It's pretty unlikely.
Ages ago, the LA, New York, Nashville club scenes were much more vibrant, I think, because everybody came to those cities to get discovered. Whereas opposed to now with the internet, you don't have to go anywhere to get discovered. You could stay in your hometown, the world will come to you.
You have to have your internet game on.
At first we sort of fell off because people were doing our MySpace for us. They were organizing our email lists.
Fans love being able to contact you. They love being able to type on your site and then you answer them. You know, they feel connected to you.
Not that I don't, you know, relish contact and stuff like that, but that was kind of a shock to me that you're expected on some levels to like invite people into your life in a way that, you know, definitely feels intrusive sometimes. Not that they're even asking for it, it's just this pressure of expectation.
Before, a DJ used to come on the radio and say, hey, listen, coming up in the next hour, I'm gonna play this song. Now people can go to YouTube and hear it.
It's changed our life significantly, the way we relate to discovering music, the way we find our music and obtain our music, just the way we live our lives is centered around little screens now.
Where kids used to do their homework and just listen to the radio and hang on every word. Now they're doing their homework and they also are maybe streaming Hulu and texting and the regular television's on and they might be IMing somebody.
It's given everybody ADHD. I mean, it's made fans sort of like, oh, I don't like the first 5 seconds of the song, I'm gonna go on the next one.
You know, when I used to be a DJ on the radio station, every other call we would get was, will you play this song? I want to tape it. We don't get those calls anymore. But now, when we're gonna world premiere a song, we can send out a Twitter message to everybody instantly, like, hey, tune on 98.7, new music from so-and-so is coming up, and that's a powerful tool.
It's enabled musicians who don't have the funds to spend $100 an hour on a studio to record an album and distribute it.
The delivery system changed drastically, and along with it came the problem of it's wonderful to get things up on the net so quickly, but how do you ever find them? And how do you filter and get the really great ones to stand out?
I get 100 emails a day. I mean, I can't believe it. I have to sit there and go, okay. But you know, I do sit there. That's what I do when I wake up every day.
It changed the way musicians learn to play. We're finding that a lot of musicians can use computers and make things sound great, but they never learn the fundamentals. And by not learning the fundamentals, they may do a great sounding track, but when it's time to go out and play it or perform it, it's not the same.
Because of the new technologies that have cropped up, there are talented people that can make their own albums these days. And there are people that are becoming more, instead of just passive consumers, are participating more. And because of that, there's an enormous glut of music that's going into the marketplace.
I'm sure that the next Nirvana is on the internet, but there are 5 million unsigned bands on the internet. So how are you going to find that band right now?
Where you would sign an artist because you love the artist, and you would really do anything to try to figure out how to break that artist and give them the tools necessary, including if it meant recording 3 albums, we would record 3 albums to get there. And it did take more than 1 album on most of our artists. Today, it's not possible because of the economy and the shrunken revenue streams and the layoffs and so forth. You get a couple of weeks. And if the record doesn't perform, unfortunately, you get pushed to the side.
Labels used to be independently owned companies run by people that loved music and were putting it out because they wanted other people to be exposed to it. You know, you had Ahmet Ertegun start Atlantic Records because he loved that kind of music, and you had a whole bunch of people that were doing that.
The recorded music industry has crashed. In 10 years, we are down 51%.
We started allowing, you know, large multinational corporations to come in and buy up and consolidate everything. And that happened in the radio too. And you had, you know, a lot of the radio stations were independently owned, but then as of the late 90s, some regulations were passed that were lobbied for in the government, and you had consolidation radio, and all of a sudden corporate interests come in to where when you're dealing with art, you can't really put great art on a timeline.
There used to be a pretty defined correlation between radio play and record sales. Record sales have diminished to the point really where maybe we're not so sure that, you know, it's radio that's the problem. I mean, it's sort of trying to unring the bell of everything that's been, you know, done, and, you know, the Pandora's box on the internet side that's been opened.
But all of a sudden everybody has, you know, shareholders that they have to be responsible for on a quarterly basis.
It's made it strictly numbers.
Right.
And these guys, and I talk to radio every day of my life, they have corporate watching everything they do, and if it's not researching, and if it's not that.
And that's where, you know, people are afraid to take chances, and the decision making is fear-based because who you answer to has changed.
As the dollars have decreased on the retail side, I think it's easy to say, you know, radio has lost its impact.
It permeates throughout the industry that people are really trying to play safe as possible.
No one's going to buy music anymore, so forget that. You might as well forget that notion that anyone's going to pay for your CD or your song. Because they can get it for free. If you could download like a piece of bread to eat, then you'd probably do that too.
Right now is basically a drum day, so we got a drum tech to come in and tune up all the drums and set everything up the way we think would sound best recorded, and we're gonna see if we can get a couple tracks laid down a couple different ways, so we have a bunch of pieces to choose from, and maybe we can rearrange them however we want. The rest of us, I'm not sure. We might lay down a few bass tracks of like guitar just so he has something to play over. We're trying to make a 4-song demo that we can end up giving to our contacts here and pitch to record labels, hopefully get some sort of deal.
Got it to the point right now where there's very little barrier to entry. You know, not only can anybody record an album or make an album, but they can distribute it, and they can distribute it through the largest retailer of music in the entire world. Anybody can get onto iTunes for, you know, nominal price, for like $50. You know, you can put an album out. So just looking at basic economics, that drives the price down, and it turns music, economically speaking, into a commodity.
You know, there seems to be some kind of disconnect between going into a record store the way it was done in the past and laying down the money and getting a physical thing in your hand and trading it online or having it just appear on your hard drive. There's just some sort of a disconnect there. But the result to the artist and to the label is devastating.
Absolutely. Any album that you want, you can go get for free on the internet. It might not be legal, but you can do it.
Free. It's free. People are going to take shit for free.
Where is it
when you're going
free
to get
from?
free? It's free. What do you mean it's where? We're right here. It's free.
Well, yeah, but like, you have to actually go to a site, right? I mean, you have to go find a site where you can
go on any blog and get any new music anywhere.
I would imagine that most young kids think that music just should be free, but that means I don't make a living. I don't get my publishing. I don't get my royalties. I mean, that's how I pay my rent. It's not for free. If you want music for free, pick up a guitar, look in the mirror, and play it.
You shouldn't have to pay for music, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain areas and avenues where obviously it takes money, but a piece of recorded music, you know, there's just like, it becomes a part of your life. You know, we've been listening to records our whole life. Everyone's familiar with records, you know.
Well, it's not necessarily paying for music as much as I look at it as supporting music, you know?
Totally, but that's a choice, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
As opposed to, like, saying you cannot have access to this unless you pay money.
Is it because the word art is in there that you're saying it should be free? Nothing should be free like that. These guys work so hard to be good at what they do.
If you're a doctor or a lawyer, you have a craft and you get trained in that craft and you expect to be paid for it, and they get paid very well. Why not a musician? You know, why should a musician have to work at McDonald's to do music at night that we can all enjoy?
There was no such thing as downloading. You play a show, and if you kicked ass, no matter what, you're gonna probably sell at least $500 worth of merch if it's a local show. Like, you know,
the good old days.
Yeah. Now you're lucky to sell 5 T-shirts because everybody's
the economy's
downloaded your shit.
bad
The
too.
economy's horrible right now.
I don't think music should be free. It should be $1. You want a song? $1. Was that going to kill you? You know, I mean, come on.
As an industry, we have to take a lot of the blame, because before iTunes, we would make albums as an industry, hopefully not me, and put them out, and you'd go and buy the album and you'd take it home and pull off your shrink wrap and you'd find the song you love, but everything else on it was trash. You didn't like it. You hated it.
We would buy these discs, and it would have one good song on it. It would have 12 crappy songs, and people just stopped buying it.
But nothing should be free. It shouldn't be free. Not on the internet, not anywhere. Unless you're willing to give it to somebody. Unless you're personally saying, I want to give this to you. You know, I'm saying this song is free for the world. These ones cost $1.
I mean, I can get like where they have like download it for free from, you know, you can have this thing. It's one thing when you can have it when you go and you take like 30 gigs worth of music. That's a whole different thing. It's stealing.
Yeah,
It's just
people's livelihood.
It's stealing, yeah.
It's something somebody worked hard on, spent money on. Someone spent money, whether it's the artist or a record company or an uncle. Someone spent their money to make that be on this planet.
Yeah, I'll hit it.
When I go in a studio, we have the studio costs, we have cartage costs. There's a thing that goes into making a record, and so music can't be free like that. So, but the cat's out of the bag with that.
We've tried to jail them, we've tried to fine them, we've tried to sue them, but none of that's worked. And the truth is, it's too big. It's too big a problem to try to handle it that way.
So no one's going to buy your music anymore. You've just got to, I think it's all just going to boil down to like ticket sales and merchandise. And it's kind of how it should be, because if you're a really good live band, if you're a really good artist who can deliver a live performance that makes people want to go again and again, then you kind of deserve to be successful.
The first time someone writes a song, they write the song that they want to write, every time. The way that stops happening is one of two ways. Either someone sees potential in your look, sound, etc., and they say, okay, we can do something with you. We can make your dreams come true. We just need to mix this in a little bit. We need to tweak your look a little bit. We need to do this, we need to do that. We need to manufacture you a little bit more.
So we were looking for indie labels. We're looking for, we were really hoping for the most narrow margin success.
Yeah.
And it's easy when you're in a band to say, I don't want to sacrifice, I don't want to be on these kinds of TV shows, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do this. And when you narrow all of that stuff down, all of your idealisms don't leave much left.
That's the decision of the artist, and it's not like sell out or not sell out. It's not that at all. It's making a living and not making a living.
When someone is funding your lifestyle and your career, they want to know what's going on, and you play them all these songs that are like totally from your heart and incredibly genuine and, something you put a lot of effort into, they'll go down the line and, pick them out as far as like what they think has hit potential and things like that, or, what's going to sell.
Radio's programmed to achieve ratings so that they can sell advertising, so they can make money. That's the business model.
It's a corporation. That's what broke my heart. So it's run by lawyers and people that don't necessarily, they're selling widgets. They're selling these things. How many of these can I sell? How many of these things can I sell? And it's not necessarily about music.
When bands and artists go into it thinking radio is going to save my career or build my career, dude, radio doesn't give a shit about your career. Radio is about how can I use your product to sell advertising. Simple as that.
Music, in a sense, has to have a certain mediocrity to it if you're going to make money from it, because it has to appeal to everyone. Music I really like appeals to me and my small group of friends and maybe some other people, but it doesn't appeal to 14-year-old girls most of the time, and they're the ones that are still going out and buying all the CDs.
It's something that you're always conscious of, because we're making the decision for our music to be a commercial product, something that is sold.
Sugar Ray is something that always pops into my head with this kind of thing. Also the Goo Goo Dolls. These were punk bands, hardcore, heavy, metal or punk bands when they were nobody. And then they wrote ballads, so the Goo Goo Dolls came out with a song called Name, and it was an acoustic guitar song, and it had whatever. Well, now 5 albums after that, you've got everything sounds like that one hit song. Someone got to them and said, just keep doing that over and over and over again, you'll make money. Don't do what it was you set out to do, which was a rock and roll band or a punk band. Do the other thing, and you'll be able to do this for a living.
Trying to write a new song with a new sound, and it's kind of in the back of your mind, I've got to make it a bit similar to the old stuff to try and please some people. But then you're like, no, fuck that. I don't like that. So yeah, it's really mixed emotions and mixed feelings from all aspects of your career.
We find music then that becomes filtered and homogenized.
Our business had been based for so many years on people seeing a great artist, taking a shot, a program director having a chance to I'm taking a shot on this artist. And their hands are more and more tied.
The tragedy, I think, that happened is that as it started to become more selective and as record companies were taking fewer and fewer risks, artists found that they had to adapt their music to what they thought the record company wanted them to be in order to get signed.
It's a very tough call. Some artists are born with that knack of commercial sound. Others have to work harder at it because they've learned how to play an instrument to a level that is so, so much invested that it's hard to back away once you've learned how to play your instrument. Once you've mastered it, it's hard to then dumb it down.
It doesn't mean you can't make it with really good art, but by definition, the better it is, in my opinion, the less likely it is to appeal to everyone, to the masses.
It's like trying to sell something that you're slightly embarrassed of, but having to act like, this is us, this is what we sound like buy it, we love it. But it's like really, we're sort of like, we don't think this album's very good. And we'd say that sometimes in some of the interviews, and then like our manager or whatever, we'd be like, don't say that. Like, oh, it's true. It's finding it really hard to just lie all the time, you know what I mean?
I think what we have to remember is that the majors have pretty much followed the same formula since the inception, which was to create some sort of popularity with an artist, mainly through radio, or live as it happened in the beginning, and sell records as a consequence of that. And they had a format, a way to do it. You'd make your record, you'd make sure you had your singles, you'd go out to radio, you'd get radio play, you'd send the artist into that market, you'd surround the press, you'd take them to the record stores. They did it the same way for years and years. But that started to change. And as it changed, you had many executives that felt threatened and hoped and prayed the old days would come back. They're not coming back.
It's easier and it's more appealing to me now because I'm not embedded with anyone. I don't have to deal with, the only place you can do it is this way. Now you can do a million things in a million different ways and be creative, and it's not as closed-minded, now.
Moving to New Orleans, it's a lifestyle. It's an everyday thing, playing in bars, and there is no make it because I am it. Today I played at this coffee shop, tomorrow I'm playing at that bar, and I wake up and I'm a musician, not. Whereas in Los Angeles, there was this feeling of we weren't there yet. We weren't there, we were never there.
I mean, my response is I'm an amazing success already. I mean, I've had songs on TV shows, I can just do music, I can play for the practice place. I've got all the 3 guitars that I want, and the loop pedal that I always wanted, and I don't know. I'm huge, I'm big time.
It's not about choosing it, it's about it chooses you. And nowadays, with no promise of financial, gold mines, it's better, it's purer, because you're going to do it because you're compelled to do it, like all artists should be, because it's something that they have to do.
The reality is there are musicians here who either don't have their marketing plan together or don't have the time or the focus to do the business side of things, that are making unbelievably amazing, life-affirming music, but are really never going to go past the local Silver Lake Lounge, 20 people on a Wednesday kind of show.
I see people that are down and frustrated. I say, hang on, guys. I mean, this is an opportunity. Whenever there's such a dramatic problem, it's an opportunity. And those who figure out the opportunity and that are able to stick in there and hang in there and create great stuff are going to reap the rewards.
So it's tough. I mean, but yeah, it's absolutely unrealistic, and I think everyone should try it.